We are live. UFC 317. Getting ready to kick off. At least the main card had already been, let's see, 5 fights. One more before the main card. Jack Hermanson versus Gregory Rodriguez. I think they're just kind of talking right now on the broadcast currently. Already pretty good night of fights, though. Personally, I have enjoyed. The first fight that I started watching was Jacoby Smith and Nico Price. I guess I caught a little bit of the very first fight of the night with Deniz and Hines. That was a pretty good fight. Deniz, pretty good striking for a heavyweight fighter, I thought, personally. But yeah, we've got the main card, Peyton Talbot versus Felipe Lima, Benel Dariush, Renato Moicano, Brandon Royval versus Josh Van, Alexandre Pantoja versus Kai Kara France for the 125-pound title. And then, of course, the main event, Ilia Topuria versus Charles do Bronx Oliveira. I'm pretty pumped up for that one. And let me know who you're rooting for tonight. Obviously, it's a big fight. For both guys, Ilia Topuria trying to become a 2-division champion, and Charles Oliveira trying to become a 2-time lightweight champion, which John Anik just shared on the broadcast that, honestly, I guess I just didn't ever put this together. But no man has ever become a 2-time lightweight champion. I think that's pretty fascinating, especially with the history of the division. But either way, there's going to be fireworks in that main event between Topuria and Charles Oliveira. I think that I don't know. I don't know if I want to say that's going to be the fight of the night, but it's definitely going to be up there because I think both flyweight fights are going to be able to put on a show. Josh Van, we just saw at UFC 316 pick up a win. I'm going to go to his page real quick because, I mean, the amount that he has fought in just the last year or so, actually, I'll pull that up on the stream real quick, has kind of been crazy. See if we can find, there it is. The good old Wikipedia page is what we need. Okay, so let me see if I can swap this right quick. There we go. All right, so again, we just saw him at UFC 316 back on June 7th against Bruno Gustavo da Silva. Great performance there with a stoppage. It doesn't say how, and I honestly don't remember. TKO. And 3 straight unanimous decisions. Of course, Noche was the first time that he was kind of put on the map for me. I guess I did watch that loss against Charles Johnson, the Namajunas Cortez card. Speaking of which, Tracy Cortez with a big unanimous decision victory over, let me see if I'm going to pronounce that, Vivian Araujo, which was interesting because the end of that fight, I am curious of what kind of happened because Araujo was saying something to her. And I don't know. It felt like they were kind of getting into it right at the end of the fight. And then Cortez kind of pushed her over. So I don't know. But back to this lightweight fight, or the flyweight fight, excuse me. I think Josh Van, I mean, he has been on a streak of recent and fighting September of 2024. Well, July, then September, right back in the octagon. Took some time off until December, which really isn't much of a layoff. Back again in March, then in June, and now turning around in 1 month, which, I mean, this fight against Brandon Royval could absolutely give a title shot to Joshua Van. But Loki has become one of my favorite fighters to watch recently in the UFC. So getting into the card, honestly, Peyton Talbot, I've watched him fight once. I haven't seen him a lot. Felipe Lima, I'm not very familiar with either. So I will be interested to see that. Felipe Lima coming in 14-1. Has a victory over Miles Johns back in December. Muhammad Naimov back in June of last year. So he's won 2 UFC fights so far, but we haven't seen him much, just twice in about the year that he's been in the UFC, a little over a year now. June 22nd of last year was his UFC debut. So getting a main card fight, I think that's a big deal right there. Let's see. Let me go back. Try to get back to the stream. There it is. Just want to make sure that I can see if anyone chimes in, because I am curious to know your guys' thoughts on this event this evening. Just to, Topuria Oliveira, I mean, that is a tough one. I did see Drake put money on Charles Oliveira, which doesn't bode well for fighters, obviously, the Drake curse, but really just sports in general. So curious to hear your guys' thoughts on that main event. But Beneil Dariush, UFC vet, he's been around forever. He is fighting Renato Moicano, who also, at this point, has kind of been forever. Sometimes I be forgetting how old I am. And then I look at some of these dudes that it feels like they haven't been in the UFC very long, and it's, they've got a long list. Moicano has been in the UFC. Let's look. And he just fought for the lightweight title, of course, filled in on, like a day's notice, a few hours, something like that. That was back in January, and he is back now. Was on a 4-fight winning streak. And I'm curious, his lightweight debut was back in 2020 is when Moicano moved up. Yeah, Moicano's been in the UFC for over 10 years now. That's pretty crazy. Since December 20th, 2014 was his UFC debut. Big wins. Beneil Dariush, I believe, has been in the UFC longer. Check and see. Coming off back-to-back losses is Beneil Dariush. I didn't realize he had fought since he fought Charles Oliveira. I guess that was last June now. Is that the last time Charles Oliveira fought? Was last June against Beneil Dariush? Because it feels like that was his last fight, right? I might be tripping, but Michael Chandler. How could I forget? How could I forget the win over Charles Oliveira over our boy Michael Chandler, who's become an interesting figure in the MMA world over the last, I'd say, a couple of years or so. A little desperate for, of course, his date with Conor McGregor that I don't think will ever happen. I don't think we'll ever see Conor McGregor in the UFC ever again, honestly. That fight, so, okay, I'll give a prediction and say Peyton Talbot will win. That's kind of, like I said, I don't know a ton about either one of these guys. I have seen Peyton Talbot fight, but I have not seen Felipe Lima fight. At least not that I can remember off the top of my head. Beneil Dariush, Hanoita, man, his name is killing me, right? Hanoito Moicano. I'm going to go with Moicano in this one. And I don't know. I think Beneil Dariush is like the bane of my existence, I feel like. I feel like Beneil Dariush always comes in and stifles some fighter that I like, or, just my pick, whatever it is. I feel like Beneil Dariush is like the bane of my existence in the last few, 5 years or so, which I did go to his page. Let's see exactly when Dariush got into the UFC, because I could see it being the late 2000s. Wow, 2014. So I wonder why I feel like he has been in the UFC for so long. Moicano and Dariush, I guess just because he always stifles my guys. Edson Barboza, the flying knee knockout loss he had to him. That's who it was. Michael Johnson, that I was going to bring up. That was a tough one. Michael Johnson, I was a fan of Michael Johnson. Thought that he would be able to make a run for the title. His last win, Dariush's last win, came against Gamrot back in October of 2022. And then before that, it was Tony Ferguson that he beat. Another one of, I think all MMA fans, there's just those certain guys that everybody likes in MMA. Obviously, Tony Ferguson is one of those guys. Hermanson and Rodriguez are fighting now. They're about halfway through the first round. And I hadn't been paying attention just because I had the Wikipedia page pulled up of the fights. I don't know really who's winning this fight at the moment, or if anybody's really made anything happen. But we'll go Peyton Talbot, Moicano. Now for Royval and Van, this one's going to be an interesting fight because I think it's a big step up for Josh Van to get to this level. You know, you're kind of at the top, you know, the top of the top. 4-ounce Fight Club out of Houston that Josh Van is fighting out of. Derek Lewis obviously came out of there. 4 wins in a row for Van. Yeah, he just hasn't fought in anyone yet at the level of Brandon Royval. And look, I know the flyweight division is kind of light or, you know, weak. And I think that is going to give a good chance for a guy like Josh Van that stays active. I mean, you know, if he wins this fight, he's going to get the title shot. Whoever wins between Pantoja and Kai Kara France tonight, that you're going to see the winner of this probably fight. I think Royval already fought Pantoja recently. I think they only fought once. No, they fought twice. The first time was not for the belt. Rear naked choke, Pantoja wins. Then a unanimous decision at UFC 296. Big win over Brandon Moreno back in February of last year. And then in October of last year, the Tatsuro Taira split decision win. And that one, another guy that's kind of like climbed up the ranks pretty quick out of nowhere. And Tatsuro Taira has also, I would say I'm a fan of Tatsuro Taira. And some of the things that he's been able to do early on in his UFC career. So, all right, so here's something happening. We just got to finish. I'm going to assume, yeah, Gregory Rodriguez, boy, and Jack Hermanson is out. He's got the 1,000-yard stare going on in the ground. I wonder what the odds are, because I'm assuming Brandon Royval is going to be the favorite. And I think I'm going to go with Brandon Royval in this fight. I think Royval will probably be... It'll be kind of that learning experience for Josh Van to... How do I say? You know, kind of absorb, you know, getting through a fight like that. I feel like Jacoby Smith kind of had a fight like that with Nico Price earlier on in the evening. Because I thought Nico Price was going to come back and win that fight. It really looked like... that Jacoby Smith was starting to fade. You know, he started off really hot, had a big first round, and dominated Nico Price, had him rocked beyond belief, really, right there at the end of the first round. Kind of stumbling around was Nico Price. But, again, with Jacoby Smith slowing down, the veteran was able to kind of start to, you know, get some stuff off in the stand-up. And Jacoby Smith wisely took him back down, you know, being with the good wrestling that he has, and was able to find a finish in the fight. But I did think that was going to be the path to victory in the final 10 minutes of the fight, or, you know, more like 7 minutes whenever he got him down to the ground, but was to ground and pound and work his way to a victory, just kind of coast into the victory after, you know, having such a big first round. I mean, maybe even a 10-8. The way that Jacoby Smith fought in that first round. But I think this might be the same kind of fight for lost it now. Got to go back to the page. For Josh Van. So I'm trying to tweet this out that we are live over here. Still not 100% used to going live like this. This is only the third time I've done this. But, got that out there. So, I'm going to take Royval. I think it's going to be a learning experience for Josh Van tonight. He's fought so much in the last few years, or the last few months, 2 years-ish. But, you know, coming back from, you know, off just a few weeks, really, I think is admirable. It's going to gain him some momentum with the UFC in general. I mean, he just fights. Like I mentioned earlier, from the loss last July, turned around and fought in September, December, March of this year, and June. June 7th, which, yeah, less than a month. We're looking at 2 weeks, 3 weeks from his last fight with a big TKO victory. I mean, shout out to Josh Van. I think that's exciting for the fans always when you get a guy like that. That's just, I mean, look at Hamzat and what he did during, COVID, and him just turning around fighting back to back to back. It felt like, I'll say he fought 5 times that year or something like that. Within a calendar year, he had 5 fights. Build your momentum very quick. And in a, kind of weaker division at lightweight or flyweight, Josh Van is able to really propel his name. I think that a good fight would be him and Tatsuro Taira. They have not faced each other yet. But, say he came off of a loss, Tatsuro Taira coming off of a loss to Brandon Royval. I don't think Taira's fought again since then. I don't know where they're at in the rankings specifically. Yeah, Taira has not fought since Royval. That big win over Alex Perez, the way he did that and just exploded his knee last June. That was the first fight of Taira that I saw. I believe that was a main event. One of the Apex cards, but either way. So, Royval is where we're going with, and then we get to the flyweight title fight that I think is going to be 100 miles an hour between Pantoja and Kai Kara France. I think this might be the most exciting title fight that we see Pantoja in since he won the belt. I mean, obviously, a great fight that we saw between Pantoja and Moreno that led to Pantoja taking the title from Moreno. I think that was their second fight they'd fought before without a title on the line. But Pantoja now, how many defenses does he have now? He's already got 3. So this will be the 4th title defense already for Pantoja. Pantoja also fought Royval before the title run as well. So he's already 2-0 against Brandon Royval. So, and I know the lightweight or the flyweight division, I keep saying lightweight, but I know the flyweight division is a little bit different just with, as we're talking about, just saying how, it's just not as deep. Let's see if I can get in here to look at rankings. So the prelims are officially over. We have 14 minutes now until the kickoff of the main card, which I'm going to get off of here once the main card starts. But I might come back, just depending on how the evening goes, and do a post-fight wrap-up as well and kind of talk about this. If not, probably be on the podcast on Monday. So, flyweight rankings right now. Brandon Royval is number 1. The number 1 contender. Brandon Moreno, number 2. Amir Albazi is 3. Kai Kara France, who is fighting for the belt tonight, is 4. Tatsuro Taira is at number 5 right now. Josh Van actually just fell to 12th. Tim Elliott is still top 10 right now. I mean, that just goes to show, no disrespect to Tim Elliott, shout out Kansas City dude, but Tim Elliott being in the top 10 still, and I mean, I don't know when the last time Tim Elliott has even fought, honestly. Also, he had a crazy fight against DJ. That gets us to the main event of the evening. Lightweight title on the line. UFC 317 main event. International Fight Week. The main event of International Fight Week. It is Ilia Topuria versus Charles do Bronx Oliveira. And, if you're kind of an old head like me, you're rooting for Charlie Olives, but I do think that it's going to be a tough fight for him. I think that, there's been points made about the size difference between the two, and I do think that plays a factor, but I think Topuria is so good on the feet that I don't think that it really matters as much as what some people have made of it. I don't think that it's really that big of a deal, just based off of, the footwork that Topuria has, and just the, there's levels to it. The striking that Topuria has is just elite. We've seen that over and over again now. And I mean, beating Max Holloway, that was huge. And the way he did it, I feel like was a little shocking. I mean, I do know that, Topuria is that dude, really. I mean, when it comes down to it, striking-wise anyways, and he has done a great job on this run, the run that he's had. And it is kind of funny thinking about, the spat he had with Paddy Pimblett, because I don't think at that time, I think Paddy might be, a lot more well off to compete with him at this point. But I think back then, I think the Ilia Topuria probably would have hurt Paddy Pimblett. So I'm excited to see this fight. I'm not excited to watch Ilia Topuria potentially take out another one of our legends in Charles do Bronx Oliveira. But interesting to hear John Anik talk about there's never been a 2-time lightweight champion, which surprised me. Really did surprise me. I definitely thought that there had been other, maybe BJ Penn. Other than that, I mean, I guess, yeah, there's really nobody out there that has, lost the belt and reclaimed it at lightweight, thinking about it. But even going back to that, I mean, BJ, he didn't win the belt from Jens Pulver. And the draw, never won the belt because they had the draw with, I'm not going to be able to think of his name now, Carl Uno. And then they got rid of the lightweight division. And then BJ won the welterweight title. So, yeah, nobody has won the lightweight title twice. And Ilia Topuria trying to complete the same thing that Conor McGregor did. Obviously, he won't be the 145 champion simultaneously like Conor McGregor was, but nonetheless, he would be a 2-division world champion. The rankings, because now thinking of it, do we have a... Yeah, Volk took the belt back. I forgot about that. Shout out to Volk. Does Topuria go up to 170 to follow Islam Makhachev if he wins the belt tonight? I don't know. It'll be interesting. Let's see. I'm going Topuria. I think the striking is going to be too much. I think the ground game possibly is where Oliveira could find a path to victory in the fight. But I do have Ilia Topuria winning this fight. I think he's too much. I think he's been too good. And he will retain, or not retain, but ascend to the crown of 155 pounds that obviously Makhachev has left open, moving up to 170 pounds. Very excited for that fight as well between Makhachev and Jack Della Maddalena. I think that'll be a very interesting fight, especially with seeing how Jack dealt with Bilal, and then if he can apply that to Islam Makhachev as well. But I am going to Topuria. So, to give an overall who I've got tonight in all 5 fights, we're going Peyton Talbot, Moicano, Royval, Pantoja, Topuria. Now, those are my picks, but I will be rooting for Josh Van and Charles Oliveira tonight. Although I do kind of like what Ilia Topuria. I mean, his whole style, the suits, just the boxing style that he has. The boxing style that Ilia Topuria has, I love. Really works that Philly shell, works the body. Very smart, high IQ striker, I think. So let me know who you got tonight. I will be over on Twitter. Let me check my Twitter handle, because, how do I even know? At Papa Shro. At Papa_Shro. I'll be tweeting over there. Let me know who you got tonight in this, in any of the fights, but especially the main event. I'm really interested to see who everybody has in this main event tonight. Do you think the size difference is, something to actually think or worry about for Ilia Topuria moving up to 155 pounds? Of course, Charles do Bronx has fought at 145 pounds before. Obviously wasn't ideal. Had a really good fight with Frankie Edgar. I feel like that was the first really big fight that he kind of broke out into being a top fighter, you know. Took him a little bit of time, but that was like his moment. Like, that's kind of the same thing that I'm thinking tonight. Royval beats Josh Van, but it's like his moment to kind of soak up some of that next level fighter and understand how to operate in that space, right? So, and I think that, you know, Charles Oliveira, that was the Frankie Edgar fight where that was the first time we saw him at that level and thought, okay, this guy can compete with some of these guys. So, with that being said, if you enjoyed the live stream, if you watched along, make sure you smash that like button for me. Hit the subscribe button as well. I'll be having more content. Like I said, I might end up going live after the event is over. We'll just see. If not, podcast on Monday. Papa Shiro Knows podcast. Also got some film breakdowns coming. If you enjoy Kansas City Chiefs film breakdowns and the NFL. That being said, I'm going to get out of here. Enjoy those fights. I know I'm going to. And we will possibly see you after the fights.